Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, we are going to build a fun and interactive project. A random joke generator using just HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We'll be using a free API to fetch clean one-liner jokes and display them dynamically on the page every time a user clicks the button. This is a perfect beginner-friendly project if you are learning how to work with APIs and update the DOM using JavaScript. Let's start by building the basic structure of our web page using HTML. We have a div with class wrapper, which will act as a main container. Inside it, there's an emoji, a paragraph with ID joke, where the joke will appear, and a button to trigger the new joke. I've also linked a Google font and an external CSS and JavaScript file. Now let's move on to styling with CSS. We start with the universal selector, the asterisk. To reset default browser styles, we set padding and margin to 0 to eliminate unwanted spacing, and box sizing to border box ensures that the padding and borders are included inside the element's total width and height. Then we apply Poppins font to the entire document for a clean and modern look. The background of the body is set to warm yellow color. This helps to create a cheerful, engaging mood for a joke-based app. The wrapper is the card that holds our content. It's sized to 80 vmin, which scales based on the smaller viewport dimension, making it responsive. Padding adds space inside the card. We use position absolute along with top 50% and left 50% to center it on the screen. The transform translate minus 50%, minus 50%, minus 50% shifts it back by half its width and height, perfectly centering the card. The dark background color adds a contrast and a subtle border radius soften the corners. Finally, we apply a soft shadow to give it a depth and floating feel. Next, we style the emoji inside the span. We set the display to block and set the text align to center so it stays centered horizontally. We increase the font size to 100px so it's large and visually expressive, great for grabbing attention. The paragraph contains the joke text. We give it a readable font size and a white color for contrast on the dark background. Font weight 400 keeps the text light. Here I am using demo text to visualize how the paragraph would look like. We center align it and use word wrap break word to avoid overflow if the joke is too long. A line height of 35 pixels improves readability and we space it out using vertical margin. Lastly, we set the opacity to 0. This sets the joke initially so we can fade in it later. The fade class is used for smooth transition effect. When it's applied, it sets the opacity to 1 and transitions over 1.5 seconds. This creates a nice fade in effect each time a new joke appears. Finally, we style the button. It's displayed as a block element and horizontally centered using margin 0 auto. We match the background to the page for consistency. The text color is dark for contrast and we increase the font size and weight to make it more clickable. Padding adds the internal styling and border radius around the corner. We also remove the outline and border for a clean appearance and enable the cursor pointer so it reacts on hover. First, we select the paragraph where our joke will be displayed using getElementById with the ID joke. We also select the button with the ID btn which will trigger the fetching a new joke. To fetch jokes in our project, I am using an external API called Joke API. It's free and developer friendly. Let's open their website, jokeapi.dev. As you can see, it gives us options to customize the type of jokes we want. We can choose categories like programming, miscellaneous, or even dark humor. But for this project, I am selecting any which includes all the clean joke types. Next, under blacklist flags, I am excluding inappropriate content like NSFW, religious, political, racist, sexist, and explicit joke. This ensures our app remains safe for a wide audience. Now I am setting the type to single because I want each joke to come as a single line of text rather than setup and delivery. Once these options are selected, Joke API automatically generates the URL for us. This is the URL we'll use in our JavaScript code. I'll copy this URL. Notice it includes all the parameters we selected and paste it into our script file when we fetch jokes. Next, we store the API endpoint URL in a variable named URL. This URL fetches a random joke but excludes any inappropriate content like offensive or explicit jokes. Next, we'll create the joke function and remove the fade class. We then use the fetch function to make a network request to the API URL. After the data is received, we convert it into JSON format so that we can work with it on JavaScript. To make sure our API call is working, I am logging the response to the console. This helps us to see exactly what kind of data we are getting. Once we have the joke data, we update the paragraph's text content with the new joke. Then we add the fade class back to trigger the smooth fade in animation. Finally, we set up a click event listener on the button. Every time the button is clicked, it calls the getJoke function to fetch and display a new joke. We also call getJoke function once the page loads to show the joke immediately without needing the user to click. And that's it. We have successfully built the random joke generator app using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We styled the layout, connected it to free joke API and added functionality to fetch new jokes with just a click. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more beginner friendly and fun projects. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.